Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Modern at the request of Patreon subscriber Large John, and this is Dimir Riddler Frog. This is a pretty normal Psychic Frog, Quantum Riddler, Dimir mid-range control deck. We've got the Tamios, Bowmasters, and Psychic Frogs, the things you'd expect there. Force of Negation, Subtlety, Counterspell, Thoughtseize, Fatal Push for interaction. Quantum Riddler at the top end. This is not unusual, but John has leaned in a little bit on a scam package, 3 main deck consigned to memories here, which also incidentally improves certain matchups like Tron or Belcher or Storm, but scamming in a Riddler also pretty nice. The only change I made to the 75 was I added a Cling to Dust to the main over a third Tameo. It just seemed like without Kaito in the main, he's over here in the board, without Kaito in the main, and with both Frog and Riddler as draw engine, Tameo seemed like it was doing not quite enough, where one copy of something like Cling to Dust could really completely flip matchups versus cards like Flage. But this deck's full of good cards. The only thing that's not really standing on its own and requires a little bit of synergy is the consigns lining up with your Riddlers or lining up with what your opponent's playing. But just a deck full of good cards. We're going to make a lot of fun, tight little decisions and try to navigate all the matches today. Let's do it. This is Dimir Riddler Frog. I am on the play in round 1, and it's time to do a land count. We've got 20 actual lands plus 2 Sink into Stupors. That's enough to keep on the strength of Preordain with 1 land. I'm in. We're going straight for a Watery Grave here, not messing around with my colors. And I get to look at 4 cards in a row before I have a problem here. Okay. Subtlety is interesting. Like, I found the land. I'm definitely keeping that. I could take Subtlety as well, and that gives me a layer of protection to just ram Psychic Frog on turn 2. All right. I'm going to go top here. And my plan is to just tap out for Frog on 2, and hopefully Subtlety buys me 1 turn to do stuff with it. Spire, Bluff, Canal. Sleep Cursed Fairy. Cool. Enters tap with 3 stun counters on it, and you can untap it for 1 and a blue. But I'm going to hope that red removal just doesn't line up well against Psychic Frog at baseline, and Subtlety can help with anything else. Wow, I got my Denial flared. All right, Subtlety doesn't help with that one. Interesting. I mean, that's a 2-for-1 all day, but we'll see if that holds. Ragavan. How many times do I want to get hit with this? Do I want to spend 2 cards on it? All right, well, I'm going to give this 2-for-1 right back. Subtlety pitching Counterspell. If I hit a land here, I have a Riddler in play, and we're good to go. They put Ragavan to the bottom. Okay, so that was a whole ass Force of Will. I'll take it. All right, blue source? Kinda. Undercity Sewers found another Riddler. Do I want more of that? Not really, honestly. Put that in the graveyard, and we'll see where this goes. Urza's Saga. I have no idea what my opponent's doing. Unfamiliar with what's going on over there. Another Counterspell. Can't get away from that one. Quantum Riddler. They could hardcast Flare of Denial this turn if they have another one of those. Flame of Anor in response. All right, sure. Just drawing 2 cards in response. I get to draw a card. Every single Counterspell I own is accounted for here. Sleep Cursed Fairy is a wizard. Okay. So wizards. Urza Saga wizards seem to be what's coming together over there. Spire Bluff Canal tapped. A Riddler is in play. Sink into Stupor. Oh, that does answer a construct token, but getting my hand lower is also part of the job here, because that turns on the Riddler. All right, I am going to play this as Soporific Springs and try to get my actual engine running. 1/1 construct in the end step, that will soon be a 3/3. If they have something like Aether Spellbomb that they could tutor for, resetting my Riddler, then I have very little going on. Okay, interesting they tapped Fiery Islet to do that. And they must just be planning to spend all their mana this turn then. Okay, Aether Spellbomb confirmed. Okay, big draws. Preordain. I'm going to go to combat first and make them do the thing they're going to do if it's going to happen. Okay, it just didn't happen. Deal. Preordain. Any removal spell is welcome. All right, I'm good on lands at this point. Lands to the bottom. Psychic Frog. Okay. Now they have to decide which creature they're more worried about. This does tap me out of Counterspell, but I can't not develop here. And my Riddler is in my hand. That is the bigger one. I can make Frog 6 toughness, which matters because Flame of Anor is a removal spell that we've seen. But I'm not going to engage with these constructs in combat. That seems like an easy way to lose my Frog. Sleep Curse Fairy's back. Alright, I've untapped with my counter spells up. Ooh, Cling to Dust. A life gain here might actually be relevant. Okay, attack with Frog. I'll start there. Something's happening. Petty Theft. Counter spell on that. Force of Negation. Pitching Spellstutter Sprite. I'm so jealous. That's awesome. Okay, and my mana does not cast what it needs to here. No, Petty Theft will work. And my opponent can attack me for 4. Alright, I guess I'm just replaying Frog. Frog's back. Opponent's deck is awesome. Flame of Anor. Okay. Deal 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can go all the way in here. This is actually lethal, so I am going to do it. If they can remove my Frog somehow from 1 mana left, then, great job. But this is just an attack for 6 flying next turn, face up on the board, which they are dead to. We got a no land GG in... I wonder if they have like Lightning Bolt to finish it off, and they were trying to hit the land to cast it. Yeah, the all-in plays. Okay, Mystical Dispute coming in. Does Kaito look good in this matchup? It probably does, right? And Kaito in the sideboard has to just be for ticky-tack, control-y, and tempo type matchups. This seems like exactly why Kaito's even here. Force of Negation seems mid. We saw Urza's Saga, but I don't have like a dress down or engineered explosives to address that. Consigned to Memory can hit certain chapters of it. And, heaven forbid I ever draw a removal spell in a game. That would help as well. Toxic Delusion, Meat Hook Massacre. We saw Spellstutter Sprite. That Sleep Curse Fairy is pretty big, though. Alright, yeah, I'm not messing with the sweepers. I think just having better creatures than my opponent is my game. Like, that game was actually won by scamming out a Riddler. That did enough damage and made my opponent react enough that I was able to just barely get over the line. Bowmaster's great, Push is great. Yeah, Cling to Dust not really for this matchup, even though it was about to be pretty okay there. Opponent might have Snapcaster Mage, though. Just thinking of wizards in the modern card pool that are fun to play with. I'll believe that when I see it. Thoughtseize is really good in matchups like this. I'm trying to think if they're like burn adjacent or if they're on the play, or like, is there any reason I would shave a Thoughtseize here? Is Thoughtseize better than Kaito? It might just be one of the consigns. Because other than Urza Saga, they're not a deck where consign is good, but scamming out Riddler is always okay. But if I'm bringing in actual good cards from my sideboard, I'll take it. Okay, another one-lander, but I am on the draw, I get to Surveil, then I draw another card, then I Preordain. Definitely keeping. Get to see, what, like 5 or 6 cards before missing a land drop here. Another Fatal Push. Psychic Frog to the bin. Hate to see him go, but that's not what I'm looking for right now. Alright, Dashed Ragavan. That's going to work. Look at all these Modern Horizons 1-drop legends that snowball card advantage coming my way. Alright, Exiled Flooded Strand. Hate that. I wanted that one. My own Tameo. Alright, now I can Preordain to hit the land. I think I have to do that, even though just casting Fatal Push or Thoughtseize here is pretty good. Yuck. Alright, yep, good read on that one. Continue the Modern Horizons card beatdown. Going to exile to Sink into Stupor. They're very good at hitting lands with Ragavan. Oh, baby, here we go again. Uh-oh, 2 non-lands to the bottom. Brutal. Alright, well, I mean, this is the hand I kept. And part of this is just RNG. Like, if this Flooded Strand is just on top of the Psychic Frog there, then, I'm playing the game just fine. It's whatever. Exiled Quantum Riddler. You want to warp that? Can you even do that? I think you have to warp from your hand. Is that part of warp? I don't know. This doesn't have the rules text of warp on it. Sleep Curse Fae. Counterspell. Okay, I could Thoughtseize here. I'm sticking to the plan. Here we go. Alright, Gloomlake Verge. We're in business. Ragavan's actually pretty bad against Orcish Bowmaster. Am I going to Fatal Push or a Thoughtseize this turn, I guess is the question. Right, I have enough creatures. I want to keep hitting lands. I'll take the Verge. And I think I want to Thoughtseize my opponent. I want to know what's going on over there. The Psychic Frog can totally stabilize the board by itself if they can't kill it. All right. Hand is a bunch of Tamios and some Flame of Anors. Tamio can flip next turn. Not a big fan of that. But I will take this Ragavan. Had enough of that guy. A Tamio attack. Did not Flame of Anor. That's exciting. Now I could just Fatal Push the Tamio if I want to go that way. How many cards am I willing to discard to Frog? In most of them, right? Opponent's doing very little over there. All right, Psychic Frog. They can untap the, or get all the stun counters off the Sleep Curse Fae here, but I think that's worse than casting Flame of Anor. Like, mashing my Frog is a free roll here. You're going to draw 2 cards anyway, and then get a bunch of cards off of me. I got to discard 4, and I am going to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Counterspell is the one I should try to have some faith in here. Steam Vents, that gives them the other Flame of Anor if they want it. Okay. Tamio holding back. Wow, that was great. All right, now I can Fatal Push Tamio and get in with Frog. Spellstutter Sprite. All right, well, that's pretty strong. All right, that is not worth my Counterspell, though. Nice one. All right, 5/6 truck coming in, though. They're in the Abyss. And maybe that was actually just bad, that Fatal Push. Because they could have flipped Tamio on their own turn, decided not to do it, but flip Tamio is not even good into a 5/6 Frog. Yeah, if I just attack, then they probably flash in Spellstutter to chump block, or they just lose Tamio, or they take 5 on a draw card. Any of those outcomes I'm happy with. Subtlety is here now. All right, Frog's attacking now. Tamio block. All right, they are in the hole. This thing is awake now and can start cracking these clues that have banked up. That is part of the Tamio experience, is it doesn't do much for a long time, but if the game goes long enough, it draws 4 cards. There's another Tamio. Yeah, they could chump with those for a long time while chip-shotting me with the Sleep Curse Fairy. Another Frog. I don't think I'm casting that into that face-up Flame of Anor. Yeah, this Frog can be pitched to Subtlety. That's an option. Cracking a Clue. Yeah, they just have 8 cards in hand right now. The battlefield actually looks okay for me, but 8 cards in hand. Yep, not fighting over that. I can, if I desire, just stop attacking with Psychic Frog. That is a mode. I could just have a 5/6 on defense. All right, the Tamio chump train continues. Can't really afford to shock that in, as much as I'd like to have Subtlety around. All right, counterspell this Subtlety, because I have to. I'm dead to Lightning Bolt forever here. I'm also dead to their combat step. Oh, I gotta be careful with this Psychic Frog. It's signed to memory. All right, I guess I might just be holding here. Time to park the bus. Clue token cracked. The final one, the Tamio did eventually draw 4 cards. 1 mana opportunity. That also gained 5 life. Pyrite Spellbomb. All right, that puts me to 1 if they wanted to. All right, we're just playing full dumbass magic here. End step Flame of Anor, my Frog, and draw 2 cards. I'm going to cast an Orcish Bowmaster. I can't kill the Sleep Cursed Fairy because it has Ward, but I can get a pretty large creature involved in this game. I can't counter a Lightning Bolt anyway, so whatever. And if they use the Pirate Spellbomb on this to avoid taking this extra damage, then I get to not be at 1. Spell Stutter. Okay. That's actually awesome for me, because I can consign the Spell Stutter trigger, and then Bowmaster mows down the Spell Stutter, and they don't have mana for Pyrite Spellbomb right now. And I guess I replicate it, because I have seen Force of Negation in their deck. All right, not bad. Kill Spell Stutter. And then 2 to your smelly face. Yeah, the Spell Stutter was also a lethal attacker there, so dealing with that, pretty important. I got Subtlety to hold the fort here, but if they have Petty Theft or Aether Spell Bomb. We've seen Sink into Stupor. Like, there's a million potential answers to this Psychic Frog here that the game ends on the spot if they have. The artifact package makes me suspect Emery is in this deck as well, which is pretty interesting. Okay. Flame of Anor, another one of these. The Pirate Spell Bomb can do 2 damage to a frog, and I can discard my hand to save it. Or I can just get quad Flame of Anord. Yeah, okay. You got me. GG. Yeah, losing to Sleep Cursed Fairy at the end of the day was pretty cool, actually. And I lost to Mana Screw, but the card that actually killed me, the Ward 2 being relevant at the end, that was all pretty sweet. Okay, I think I like my deck configuration. I just need to hit my second land before turn 6. An opening hand with 2 lands just ready to go? Easy keep. I didn't know this was possible. Blue to Delta, pass. Okay, they didn't have a 1-drop. I'm pretty hyped for that. I could answer any 1-drop I've seen with Mystical Dispute or Fatal Push. Another frog. I actually am going to keep that because it's a really important card, and I suspect the frog in my hand is about to get Mystical Disputed, but I am still going to jam it because that's what we're here to do, and having the follow-up one ready to go feels good. Yep, Steam Vents, Mystical Dispute, you got me. I think if this frog was a land instead, I would have just waited a turn and dispute back. The frog is so freaking stupid if it's just in play. Interesting. I can completely break serve on this if I subtlety it and then play frog. All right, I'm going to subtlety pitching dispute. I'm a little worried that if this tempo plan I'm on doesn't work, I'm going to be way behind. Ragavan to the bottom. Bowmaster. All right, here we go. This does unfortunately die to Flame of Anor, but they don't have a wizard, so they'd have to spend 3 mana to answer my 2-drop, just 1 for 1, which is something I can handle. Okay. Or they just have Tameo and Frog gets to cook. I gotta respect Spellstutter Sprite here, which is a crazy thing to say in 2026 Modern. Okay, no block. I love that. They care about the Tameo. I'd love to hit a land drop here. Mystical Dispute's nice too, though. All right, so I could push the Tameo and dispute Spellstutter, and I can do that on their turn as well. And doing it now means that I might be able to get them on the hook for something like Flame of Anor. Or I could just let Tameo through. I'm going to push Tameo. Here's that. That was very clear. How many layers of interaction do we have? I'm starting this fight on their turn, so their mana's tapped for mine. Okay, the double spell stutter. Hell yeah, I love that. That gives Orcish Bowmaster a great target, which also lets Psychic Frog through. Bowmaster resolved quickly. That's fun. Drew another frog. Pass the turn. Now I have enough cards in hand that Frog can survive a Flame of Anor. And those gambles I took early, like keeping the second Psychic Frog, jamming off the subtlety on the Ragavan, they have paid off because I have taken the tempo and held it. They didn't kill the frog on the 1 turn where it wasn't able to do anything yet, and now it's already done. It's already drawn 2 cards and put them way behind. I'm not saying the game's over, but I am saying that worked out how I hoped it would. I could Kaito here. I think I'm gonna pick up the Orc Army. That is my worst creature. Big hit, draw a card, another Kaito. I'm going to Surveil 2 and draw. All right, they are kind of complaining in the chat, so that probably means we win. Yeah, they're talking about game 1. Like, remember game 2 where I didn't play my second land until like turn 5 or 6? Did your mind just forget that happened? And then you still barely won? I don't know what to tell you here, homie. I don't know. I wish people would just, say GG and concede. I do think I'm massively strategically advantaged on the deck list against any deck like this because Psychic Frog just doesn't usually die to red removal, as we saw with that Flame of Anor in game 2, and Thoughtseize breaks open any kind of blue mirror. I think I am advantaged here, just for what it's worth. On to the next round. The BoshNRoll channel is brought to you by Tales of Adventure. TOAMagic.com has almost 100,000 unique cards in stock. They offer free track shipping on every order, plus next day or 2-day options when you have an event coming up fast. They offer on-site pickup at major Magic events throughout the US, so you're never scrambling before your tournament. Stop by their booth to buy, sell, or trade at upcoming regional championships, Magic Con, Spotlight Series, and more. I love their selection of individually scanned high-end cards that show you exactly what you're buying. And the best part is saving 5% on every order with promo code BOSH. From Ancestral Recall to Zombie Master, get what you need quickly and in one place at toamagic.com. Eternal lives here. I'm on the draw in round 2. I like my hand. It's got 2 lands in it. My opponent's got the Sirach Elusive Hunter Avatar. That was my preview card from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Feels good. See it out in the world. I got to qualify for the Pro Tour with that card in my deck. What a fun story. All right, Thoughtseize you. That was a pretty good draw on turn 1. Ah, this is what you're doing. Ooh, 2 Living Ends in the opening grip is pretty awk. I am gonna get rid of your Shardless Agent, I guess. Is Shardless Agent better to get rid of than Subtlety? I mean, even Generous Scent taking their 3rd mana could matter. Yeah, I'll take the Agent. Okay, their hand is pretty awk, but so is mine, because I have 2 Fatal Pushes into a matchup where it's mostly pointless. I like the counterspell, and I like seeing 2 Living Ends in the opening hand already. Some builds of Living End now have, I forget what spell it is, but I know that they play a copy of something that lets you cast a spell from your hand. Like one of those, get some moderate effect and then cast a spell that costs 2 or less from your hand kind of things. We'll see if that comes up. They did Surveil to the top. And the Mortuary dumped a Street Wraith, pretty good. Okay. Unfortunately, I kind of have to leave up Counterspell here, as much as I would like to play the Psychic Frog. But after keeping that Surveil, if they send a Cascade here, this is a very important turn to not get totally roasted. Overlord of the Bailmerk, that's cool. Good tech. I can get back Street Wraith, Generous Scent, or Shardless Agent. That's so cool. I love Overlord of the Bailmerk. I know I've said it on the channel before, but it remains true. This huge freaking fan of that card and it existing, and every time I play with or against it, the games are really good. Okay. I can take a risk here. If Preordain misses on a blue, I'm in trouble. Oh, Consigned to Memory is actually, like, that works. All right. I will hold on to that one for dear life. I would have preferred to see an island, but this does counter the Cascade trigger. A 4th color revealed. That's probably for Ardent Plea or whatever other Cascader they're playing. All right, consign this trigger. Okay, that's handled. Yeah, I'm running out of juice here. I suspect the Psychic Frog will get Subtletied. Okay, we're in. That means if a Living End goes on the stack, I could discard 2 Riddlers and Psychic Frog, and then at least I have some stuff too. It's probably worse than their stuff, but I'm not just totally iced. All right, I am going to block and discard Fatal Push. That card simply doesn't matter. And this attack might just be to get a creature in their graveyard because they're going to Living End anyway. But I still don't want to just let them chip shot forever. All right, Cascade resolves. Revealed basically their entire deck, which makes me think that they do, in fact, only have these 3 Living Ends. And Halo Forager. Okay, yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. It's not from your hand, but it is from the graveyard, and Wistfulness can loot it away. Okay. All right, discard Psychic Frog. Discard Quantum Riddler. Discard Quantum Riddler. All right, please don't Endurance me. All right, I'm ready for Living End to resolve. All right, I've got 2 triggers on the stack, which I can use Psychic Frog to make sure I draw 3 cards for all of these if I want to. I'm definitely going to discard Fatal Push. And then I draw 3 cards off my first Riddler trigger. I think we're past the point where Thoughtseize matters. And are Subtlety and Consign still good, or would I rather have 3 cards and a bigger frog? I think I'd rather have 3 cards and a bigger frog. Discard Subtlety, discard Consign. All right, Ancestral Recall again. Pretty sweet. Your Overlord triggers finds Wistfulness, Subtlety, or it can take that Street Wraith. I picked up Subtlety, which makes sense because we know there's already a Subtlety in their hand. And I'm not going to discard down to 1 here, so I'm not going to discard it all. Blooded Strand. I already have a Swamp in play, and I can't get rid of it. So that deal is done. Island, play Tameo. who could totally flip here if Psychic Frog connects. You're playing your Subtlety. You're just about out of spells over there. I am going to counterspell this. Okay, so you've got 5, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 over there. If you block Psychic Frog with Generous End, that's not lethal anymore. And if you don't block Psychic Frog, then Tamiyo flips. All right. I'm going to jump my frog and attack with everybody. Attack with the squad. We're coming in. Generous End can block, but it would die if it does. Discard these 2 lands from my hand. Now they're out of flying blockers, and the Overlord gets to pick something up in combat. I am also Hellbent, so I'm going to draw 3 cards in my draw step, which will automatically flip Tamiyo, though Tamiyo might not survive this turn. Right, Overlord. Ooh, Endurance is actually a castable combat object. Endurance in their main phase. Oh, they got back Street Wraith. Interesting. Are they going to Living End again somehow? 5, 8, 9, 10. I think this game's better for me if Tamiyo's in play. I'll block Shardless Agent. I'm at 5. Cycling Street Wraith. Yeah, they might be looking for the Halo Forager to lock it down. Cycling Wraith down to 6. They are dead if they have nothing. And I am dead if they have Living End. And if they have something in the middle, we'll figure it out. Oh yeah, Psychic Frog, Quantum Riddler. Sometimes you just resolve 3 Ancestral Recalls off of your opponent's own game-ending spell. Feels good. All right, Force of Negation comes in. Damping Sphere does make it cost 1 more to Cascade, but I don't think that's how I want to approach this matchup. Mystical Dispute. Living End is not blue, but some of the other things their deck does are blue. I'll think about that. Surgical is kind of poor, because they're not going to have, like, one thing in the graveyard. Surgical will probably stop, like, 1 big creature from coming into play, but I guess I do have to go with it. The Fatal Pushes are basically zeros in the matchup. Unless you discard 3 of them to Psychic Frog, then they might be good enough. Toxic Deluge. This is... and it's an emergency option of my opponent has resolved Living End. I lose 7 life. That's better than dying. I don't think I want to do that, though. Consign to Memory, actually great here. Subtlety is only good against their subtleties, but their subtleties might be important. Kaito survives Living End as a threat. That's something. Do I need all 4 Riddlers? In the interaction with Psychic Frog, obviously pretty big. But in order to get to the spot where I won last game, I had to have 2 Psychic Frogs and 2 Riddlers. And they had to have no endurance. And Bowmaster's kind of mid here, I guess. I'm still kind of interested in Kaito. Yeah, I think I might go -1 Bowmaster, -1 Riddler for Kaitos. This is just a threat that doesn't go away from Living End, and it can lock down things like Generous End that could otherwise be troublesome. Keep. I got that frog in me. Consign to Memory. The shields keep going up. Fetch a Mortuary and keep the card. Shocked and Hallowed Fountain. Overlord. Yep, that guy's pretty good. Overlord hit Generous End and 2 Street Wraiths. Took 1 of the Wraiths. I'll get my Sewer. Dumping a Riddler here would be pretty nice. Just making their Living End a little annoying. All right, another Force of Negation in my hand. That makes this game much easier. I'm going to play a Psychic Frog. Subtlety is the thing they could have to mess this up. But if they don't have Subtlety, now I have double force going into their Living End turn, where their Living End is actually kind of modest, even if they have it. Fairy Time Raveler. Hell no. Where's that? That explains the white mana. I'm with it. Preordain. I don't need to cast that pre-combat. Psychic Frog. I'd love to find a land here. That counts. I'll zap in the Springs, and I'm gonna pass. Maybe playing the second Frog's actually way better. I knew they had the Wraith, so I was trying to get cheeky with the Bowmaster, which I did successfully do, but I think just having a second Frog in play is better anyway. Right, they had a 3rd Wraith over top of the Bowmaster. That's still a lot of damage real quick. Like, you're at 8 over there. And I've got another 2 layers versus Living End. Shardless Agent. I'm going to lead with the Consign, because Force Negation has a lot more application than Consign does. Sweet. Breeding Pool tapped. Overlord wakes up 2 turns from now. That's still a ways off. I am going to jump the Frog. And then I'll attack with Frog and Orc Army. Taking the trade. Tamiyo. I can play and flip Tamiyo right now. I think I want to preordain and see what that hits, though. Tamiyo is not going to win this game for me. Or you're supposed to fetch before you preordain. I'll do that. That's just sequencing for cantrip sequencing. Looking for, okay, I was about to say a Consign or a Counterspell or a Thoughtseize or something like that, and I found all of the above. I think I'd rather Thoughtseize them, because then I can make a whole plan for everything I need to know, and I might be able to play the second Frog out. Or some negation pitching Sink into Stupor. All right. Bonus Frog, Force blue card in my hand. You've got 2 cards. If you've got Cascade, Enabler, and Protection, you got me. Otherwise, in a pretty good spot. Okay, if my opponent has Endurance, that doesn't actually change anything. All right. Yep, just going to attack. Okay, yes, that is the annoying card. But it doesn't change how I would sequence this turn. Like, giving a Frog flying before combat doesn't impact Endurance at all. Okay, I've been tucked. I am going to discard Tamiyo. And is it Consign or Force? I think it's Force, actually. And that keeps this guy alive. All right. Another one. Here we go. The Overlord does wake up this turn, which is a problem. That's a 5-5 between me and my destination. Hedge Maze. My opponent knows the card in my hand is good, or else I would have killed their Endurance. Oh, I can make this go to sleep, actually. Or I could counter this trigger. 1, 2, 3. I think that's a mistake. All right, I'm not going to do that. Kaito, hello, hello. That's just lethal, right? I think so. I think that's how that works. All right, attacking with all my stuff. They have to block the large frog. Oh, don't have another Endurance. Oh no, not like this. Oh, subtlety. All right, so I don't quite have lethal now. And now I wish I had consigned the Overlord, but what are you going to do? Okay, interesting. So I can Ninjutsu Kaito, picking up the Bowmaster, discard Bowmaster and consign to win this combat. Oh, my opponent can Overlord to pick up Shardless Agent next turn, so I actually need the consign. All right. All right. Ninjutsu the Bowmaster. The frogs are going to die. Do I want Bowmaster still, I guess, is... And my opponent's going to be at 3 or 2. Bowmaster going to put them to 1. And then they can't draw cards anymore. Like, I could kill the Endurance with this frog, is what I'm thinking about right now. I guess I want to do that. All right. I do actually want to remove things from play. And, oh, I can... No, I misclicked! I meant to... Oh, fuck. I meant to stun the Overlord. God damn it, Brian. All right. That was tough. Right, 2 lands into the graveyard. Shit. Yeah, if I stun the Overlord, then they don't have a guaranteed living end. Yeah, I meant to do that. That also keeps Kaito alive. That was a terrible turn, actually. Truly horrendous. It was actually just a misclick. I'll take credit for that one. I also could consign the Bowmaster or the Overlord trigger instead. Like, if my opponent decides to just play small here and they don't living end. Okay, they did go for the Shardless Agent. Thank goodness for that. Like, if they just decided to grab another Endurance or something and just make sure Frog doesn't connect while Overlord goes nuts, I don't think I can actually beat that. I consign this trigger. Hope they didn't draw a very good card right now. Though I am still losing. And that was a tough misclick. Oh, wait, no. They're at 2. All right. I think I was looking at my own life total. Like, how am I going to get to 8 damage? No, they're at 2. So they actually do need something to win this fight right now. Or something to block with. Or they're cooked. And they can't cycle Street Wraiths anymore. Okay. If they have another Cascade, I'm in trouble. Though Bowmaster would come back from the graveyard and deal 1 to them on the way in. Like, I haven't actually done the math of do I win if... Okay, wow. All right. That was kind of shitty. Like, if I just done that Overlord, this game is trivial, but I did still have the tools. Very cool match. Shake it off. On to the next round. The NYSE Open is returning on June 6, 2026 to Long Island, New York. This proxy-friendly vintage tournament has the guaranteed prize pool of 8 pieces of Power 9 to be drafted by the top 8 based on final standings. Any additional profits made from the event will be added to the prize pool as on-site vendor credit. This tournament has been great the last 2 years. How often do you get to act sad about winning just a time walk? You know I'll be there. See you at the NYSE Open on June 6 on Long Island, New York. Use my link in the video description or find the New York Stacks Exchange on melee.gg. I'm on the draw in round 3. I've got lots of lands to play the game with this time, and I have Clear the Way for a Scammed Riddler is my entire game plan right now. Ooh, Valakut Stoneforge. I am excited to Thoughtseize this opponent. Reveal your secrets to me. Oh, baby. All right, we've got Ruby Medallion, Ironcrag Feet. I can consign this Belcher, so I'm going to take the Ruby. Here I am with my scam cards, accidentally just queuing perfectly into what my opponent's trying to do. Pinnacle, Monk as a land. I'm just going to make land drops here. My opponent can, with a Ritual, present GG this turn. So I'm not going to tap out into that. Mystic Peak. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Man, that's crazy that I just said I'm going to play around a Ritual. And then I did. I can sign a memory that. They do have another Ironcrag Feat, which means the next Belcher they draw gets to do the thing again. I'd really like a piece of interaction before that happens. I don't need Riddler number 3. That is too many of that guy. That is possible. Hey. All right. Now I'm chilling. Okay, they don't have a 4th land, which means their hand is all spells. Get the other Sewer. Fatal Push. I don't think that's going to be useful here. And I drew one anyway. All good. All good. Okay, I'll Warp a Riddler. Just cycle this one off. Leave the counterspell up. Drawing more lands. That's fine. Valakut Awakening. Gonna delete their hand. Draws 3 cards. Okay, so that was the whole hand. I don't know anything anymore. I'm gonna fetch Basic Island, and I'm gonna do it in my upkeep. I don't know if this deck has any instant speed ways to kill me, but fetching in my end step would have opened a window for that to be possible, so I'm just not gonna give them that. Okay, I'll fetch another, or I don't have another Basic Island. All right. I'll get Watery Grave. I don't think my life total is super important here. Warp a different Riddler. And Subtlety. Subtlety is a 3/3 with Flash, which is going to be its job in this matchup. Another Valakut Awakening. That drew 3 cards, so they kept 1. There was 1 card in their hand they actually liked. And me without my Bowmaster, after my opponent has drawn 7 extra cards in the last turn cycle. Ironcrag Feat has happened. Counterspell. Let's get rid of that. You know they can't fight back because you only get 1 spell after you Ironcrag Feat. Psychic Frog, sweet relief. That is the guy I've been looking for this whole time. Let's get this in the mix. Sink into Stupor could buy me a turn. If they do have a 3rd Belcher here, I could bounce it, and then, but they get to replay it. So that's a temporary solution. I think I'm down to my last fetchable, so I will go ahead and do that. And Subtlety's coming in for the beats here. I don't think they could kill me at instant speed. I played careful around it earlier because I could. It didn't cost me anything to do that. But now it actually does cost me development to play around a thing that may or may not actually exist. Thoughtseize you. What's going on over there? Ooh, Stormscale Scion. That one's almost a problem. Glad that's gone. I'll discard Fatal Push to Psychic Frog. And can I lose from right now? I don't think so, which means I'm going to play this Riddler pre-combat and make my Frog a whole lot bigger. Okay, now I definitely can't lose. All right, attack. And I'm actually just going to keep my whole hand intact here. I don't need to Ancestral Recall if my head's already perfect. Manamorphose. I feel like I don't necessarily need to tell them that my deck, or I guess Stormscale Scion, could be a problem here. Yeah, my thought process there was I don't need to show them that I have Force Negation in my deck if they miss, but they would have had exactly 6 mana to make 2 dragons. But I think I beat them anyway with Sink into Stupor and just the stats I have around. Okay, Force of Negation is in for sure. Damping Sphere easily. Mystical Dispute does actually kick in the mid game. They don't have blue spells, but they do have spells they want to tap out for after I've stopped them once. I can go again. Main deck Consign showing up big again. If Fatal Pushes are out, do I want Toxic Deluge? If they do go dragons on me, that's really bad. But I think I'd prefer that that just didn't happen rather than gunk my deck up with ways to stop it if it does, or catch up if it does. I don't know how Ruby Stormish this deck is. Like, I'm vaguely aware that the mono red Belcher deck exists, but I don't know its entire range. Like, if they board into Pass in Flames or something, then Clinging to Dust actually is really good. But if they don't, then it doesn't matter at all. Okay, I think I'm off that. And that gives me a Kaito. Just another sticky threat that snowballs card advantage. Yeah, I don't think I'm interested in the Mystical Disputes, even though I am aware of their fringe use case. Look at this. I will keep. This is where they just play like turn 1 Ragavan and I die. Okay, that's not a turn 1 Ragavan. I'll take it. Alright, I'm not dead to Ragavan anymore. In fact, I'm feeling great now. Do I want Riddler? I don't think so. Psychic Frog and this Grip full of free permission is my entire plan. And Frog can draw enough cards. Like, Riddler's really cool when you're Hellbent, but I'm not Hellbent. Hexing Squelcher. Alright, well, that guy stinks. That is certainly a card that I should have been aware of, that I failed to be. Okay, I am actually going to pass without playing Psychic Frog, because if they get rowdy with Squelcher and I can kill it with Bowmaster, that's so insane. Glimpse the Impossible. Exiled a bunch of cards. Please attack, please attack, please attack. Shit. Alright, they know what they're doing. Bowmaster goes in. 1 to you. Probably dead this turn. We sink into Stupor. Can bounce Hexing Squelcher if I find the mana to do that. Okay, so now I could play Psychic Frog, hope to hold for a turn. I think I'm going to Preordain. It just seems like it'll work better most of the time. Oh my god. Well, top, and hold on for dear life. Boy, I wish that was Brainstorm. There's a lot of things I die to here. Glimpse, get a Ruby Medallion, and a Manamorphose. Okay, they played a tap land. That's probably good news for my prospects here. Okay, I will not crack this fetch land because I desperately want that Damping Sphere that's on top of my deck. And I am actually going to give up on Sink into Stupor here in order to develop Frog. Soporific Springs, zap it in. Here we go. Bet. You're up. And I still just lose to the card Goblin Charbelcher straight from hand. They've got plenty of mana. Okay, they figured it out. Alright, Hexing Squelcher. Got my ass. Maybe I'm supposed to subtlety that this game. It just felt like I wasn't going anywhere fast enough, but if they had spent even 1 turn redeveloping that, that would have been a lot better for me. Alright, Fatal Push. Kaito's back out, Fatal Push back in, and kind of like Bowmaster. I might like Bowmaster more than I like Riddler. Okay. I have a couple Fatal Pushes in now to respect their Hexing Squelchers. My deck still does have Thoughtseize in it. Keep my hand. I'm going to get a Watery Grave and cast Preordain. I'm much more interested in having good answers to what my opponent's going to present than I am to having a slow engine. Okay, another Consign. I already have one of those. I'm not that excited about. I will take the Frog, though. That gets everything moving. And I'll probably fetch Basic Island next turn, just in case my opponent has a Blood Moon pivot, which seems like a perfectly reasonable thing for a deck to do that can cast it on turn 2. Spikefield Cave, Basic Island, Psychic Frog, and then we ride. This does tap me out of Consign on a turn where they might play Ruby Medallion, but Psychic Frog in play is worth so much. Shatter Skull, Ruby. Alright, Frog, do your job here, buddy. Fatal Push. Alright, that's it. So Fatal Push plus Consign does give me a squeeze of answers. Even if they do have Hexing Squelcher, I can clear it and then counter a spell. Frog draws 1, Force of Negation, happy to see it. And I can afford to develop Tameo here. I still have Push, Consign, and Force up if I do that. And if opponent doesn't do anything, I can Bowmaster to add pressure. Right, Squelcherino's in. Please don't have two of them. Desperate Ritual resolves. Delicate Awakening. Yikes. I mean, I could flash Bowmaster in on this, and then they can only afford to draw one card or they lose their Squelcher. No, I can't. I can't tap out of the pretty safe lineup I have here. They drew 5 cards. That was the full send on that thing. Desperate Ritual. Defense Grid. Shit. Alright, well, I'll kill the Squelcher now then. And consign to memory the grid, leaving up Force. Okay. Got through that one. That Bowmaster was so tempting. But they could have just drawn 0 cards and passed the turn, and then I haven't done anything. All right, here we go. Tamio's going to have 2 draws in the bank. Another Frog. Yeah, that seems pretty great, actually. I'll just get that in. And then I have Push plus Force again. The same interaction I had last turn. Minus Consign. Delicate Awakening. Another one of these. Man, that Bowmaster. Drew 2 cards. There was one that was kept. Okay, they appear to be struggling. And Tamio's guaranteed to flip this turn from the 2 frogs. I'm actually going to Thoughtseize pre-combat, because if I see that they have nothing... Oh, double Scion. All right. What do I do with double Scion information? Does that mean I discard the Fatal Push? I don't think so. No, I'll just be patient here. Hit my land again. Tamio flips. Land is in, plus Tamio. Hardcast Force is available, and then Bowmaster to add pressure. Opponent's hand is pretty bad. Manamorphose. That's interesting. If I... Okay, so you go 5 mana here. If I Bowmaster this, you actually get 3 dragons. I'm gonna force some negation to Manamorphose. That does go +1 mana with the Ruby. And because Tamio's here, I can just pick the force and negation back up. Or I could pick Thoughtseize back up. I got a lot of choices here. Alright, well, I don't need that anymore. How do I want to play this turn? I could draw so many freaking cards. If I play Bowmaster, play Riddler, I have 1 up, discard the Fatal Push, hit with... Okay, I'm gonna just be super greedy and obnoxious here. Bowmaster you. Discard Fatal Push. Quantum Riddler draws 2 cards right now. And then discard Polluted Delta. Discard Preordain. Attack with the frogs. The first draw trigger will draw 2. Then I can discard more cards and draw 2 again. Or I can just keep my hand if it looks good. Okay, I draw 2 off this one. Discard land and Bowmaster. Those aren't what I'm looking for. Basically just looking for a blue card. Draw 2 cards here. We got the GGs in the chat. Okay, cool. Yeah, picking apart the engine. The Stormscale Scion was almost there. I actually probably would have been cooked by 3 Scions, or at least would have had to work my way through 3, what are they, 6/6s, if you have 3 of them? 3 6/6 dragons, if I hadn't Thoughtseized on the previous turn to know that that's what they were doing. Like, I think I would have let Metamorphose resolve, or Bowmaster to clip and, like, punish the draw, and then they just hit me with that. So, good job, me. Mostly, once again, a deck that I think we are strategically, like, on paper advantaged against. The Thoughtseize main deck consigns. It's actually pretty messed up. On to the next round.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there.
On the draw in round 4, nice, well-rounded hand. I don't really want to see 2 Riddlers this early. Oh, okay, we're playing against Amulet. Okay, good. I drew an untapped land. That's great. That means I can Thoughtseize on 1, Frog on 2, without even worrying about this tap land. Okay, the Summoner's Pact is the access to Titan, which they do need to play. All right, yeah, I'll take that. This is another matchup where Consign is actually really good. Wooded Foothills was the draw. Okay, so Urza Saga is going to run its course this turn, and I think I'm just supposed to play Frog here, get my engine online. If I die this turn, I die, but next turn being able to hit with Frog, Preordain, see a bunch of cards all at once. Probably more likely to survive that. They fetch Commercial District. This is worth 2 mana because of the amulets. And then they've got another 4 mana in hand with the Growth Chamber. And I just have to hope they haven't drawn something really good in the meantime. And by really good, I mean Titan or an AXS2 Titan. Okay, here comes this. Mana is being floated. Oh, do I just die to Scape Shift here? That might be true. I honestly have no idea. Well, they have 8 mana floating. 2 unknown cards in hand. And I hate my fucking life. Cool. Onto the sideboard games. Cool. All right. I think like a subtlety there would have actually taken that game over, but obviously didn't have it. Harbinger of the Seas, Damping Sphere. Force of Negation is probably mid. I mean, this is kind of a graveyard deck these days. Fatal Pushes out. Orcish Bowmaster. Not doing much. This looks like the plan. Do I want Kaito over the last Bowmaster? And Kaito would be enabled by basically only Tamio. I'm not going to pick up a Psychic Frog to do that. The Bowmaster does so little. If my opponent does end up on just Urza Saga make constructs as a plan, I don't have a lot of answers to that right now. Right, I guess I will add Kaito. That could at least tap down a construct in a race. Oof. Man, this hand is so good, except not having that second land. And no Preordain to fix it here either. I'm gonna mulligan. Hurts to send it away. Okay, this one is much better. I'm gonna keep this and get rid of, I think, Quantum Riddler. I'll just turn 1 Tamio, turn 2 Damping Sphere. The Damping Sphere also makes it hard to scam out the Riddler. And I think I am going to play Sink into Stupor as my land, because Delta can get Swamp, and I do have some Harbinger of the Season here. Saga. Tamio beats. Basic Swamp, which is not free to get, because that does cost me a Counterspell if I top Decade, or like Preordain into Preordain is off now, but trying to cover as many bases as I can. Tamio attack. If Preordain hits an untapped land, I can flip Tamio here. Right, it did indeed. Top. And I could flip Tamio now, or I could for sure have Counterspell in my hand next turn. I'm going to flip Tamio. There we go. That Moto bug cashing out. Counterspell still on top of the deck. Commercial District. Kept the card on top. I know they play Beseiju and stuff like that, so this Damping Sphere isn't a lock. Crumbling Vestige, that makes 2 mana through the sphere. What I'm hoping for is that they packed for a Titan, and then I can kill that. Do I want to subtlety this? I think I do. That's just one of these pivot idiots that I'm not really ready to deal with, but I could counter it next turn. They put it on top, that's great. Plus Tamio, Thoughtseize You, hold up Counterspell. Summoner's Pact, and a bunch of lands, including Beseiju. 2 Besejus over there, yikes. Alright. Urza's Cave. Counterspell the 6. Tamio draws half my deck next turn. I got 2 consigns between me and my foe. I guess I'll draw a card. Cool. Hit the land. Did it all. Neat. Okay. Took turns having absolute non-games with our nut draws. 6 is in the deck. What do I do with that information? Don't want a bunch of fatal pushes in my deck. I really don't. Maybe I'll cut Kaito for 1 fatal push, just as that gives me a chance. I have fatal push Otawara and 2 Sink into Stupors to interact with a resolved permanent. It's going to have to be good enough. All right, speaking of going to have to be good enough, I've got Thoughtseize into draw 2 cards into Harbinger, or Thoughtseize into Frog into Harbinger, depending on what their hand looks like and whether I draw the land or not. Dismember Analyst Explore. Okay, so if I take Explore, that slows down their development. Yeah, I think that's where I want to be here. Yeah, taking the Dismember, like if I play Frog and they just rip Dismember off on it, then that clears the runway for Harbinger. I can save the Cling to Dust for the Analyst whenever they go for the thing there. There's Vestige. Analyst has come into play. Milled 3 non-lands. You love to see it. All right, great. Now I have access to Harbinger. If my opponent rips off the Dismember, I'll just discard all the cards that aren't Harbinger. But why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe I could trick them into doing that. All right, so I attack with Frog. If they don't block, I'll just draw a card. If they do block, I'll discard 2, and then maybe they can Dismember. Discard Preordain and the other Frog. I would actually discard everything here. So there's Dismember. Frog, I can get it up to 6. Or wait, 3, 4, 5. Okay, no, it would not survive here regardless. But that was the hook I was trying to get them on. And the alternative is... All right, no, this is exactly what I was trying to set up. I'm going to let it happen. Okay, I hope that sucks for you. All right, opponent has 4 islands over there. I don't have much going on either. But I have 2 pieces of interaction. Lotus Field, yeah, that one's just in play now. Cling to Dust. I'm going to exile their Summoner's Pact. I'm just trying to draw a card here. Riddler, let's go. All right, now I have something real going on. Fatal Push. That actually kind of rules. All right, yeah, I'm just going to Fatal Push this Aftermath Analyst. Probably could have done that on my main phase and attacked for 2 after I drew it. I was busy celebrating. Otawara. Is that better as Otawara or better as Quantum Riddler? It's got to be Quantum Riddler. Just going to hope my opponent has nothing here. For at least 1 turn. Because the trick is, if they ever have anything, I'm dead. Oh, your own Otawara. Well, okay. Well, that is what I was worried about. And I am tapped out of Cling to Dust right now. There's not an amulet in play. All right, Zenith for 6. Yeah, all right. So if I had just held up my mana, I could have, like if I was just more patient. All right, I can delete the Aftermath Analyst though. Okay. And I'm still racing a Primeval Titan, which I'm not particularly stoked about. Or I don't have to be, I could bounce it. There's 1 basic forest in play. The Ursa Saga does know how to make constructs right now, and it's gonna make them forever, even under a Harbinger. I could sink into Stupor, then Thoughtseize. Or I could spend a turn not. Alright, I'm gonna Thoughtseize them. Right, take Explorer, you have Boseiju in your hand. I think what I have to do this turn... There's a lot of things I actually have to do this turn. So, yeah, I can't do it all. I need this Urza Saga to be gone, because I'm not really going to beat all their stuff. I can Cling to Dust Aftermath Analyst, but then I can't do anything else. How can I answer this Urza Saga? What is the plan? If I play Harbinger, I can stifle the Primetime trigger, take 6. On the following turn, exile Aftermath Analyst. All right, yeah, I guess I'm in Harbinger Town. They can make a construct here. What does this race look like? I think I have to hold back my 4/6. This is the just freaking survive turn, and then next turn I can think about whatever else is going on. Consign this Primetime trigger. Take 6. Played a land that was not Boseiju. Okay, another mana is welcome here. I have to get Primeval Titan out of play. All right, I'm gonna pass here, making a construct in the end step. I guess this is happening anyway, so I'll just use the mana now while I know their hand doesn't interact with this to bounce Primetime. Spelunking. Okay. I do get to draw 2 cards this turn. Boseiju's in play as an island. Cycling Teleria West, geez. That gets basic island, or basic forest, and then they can play Primetime next turn. Or right now. Oh my god. I wish my opponent just didn't have good cards one time. Okay. I draw 2, land. I've got another Riddler here. Yeah, I just can't get out of... this Urza Saga. They do have Delirium. I'm going to exile Aftermath Analyst right now. I'm just going to deal with that before I have to worry about it forever. I'm at 10. I can stifle Primetime's enter the battlefield trigger, but does that trigger even matter? I think I'm going to Warp Riddler. And I can preordain. Another Sink into Stupor, okay. Get rid of Tameo, keep Sync, and pass. I'm going to start losing here. Yeah, that turn where Saga ticked up to 2 and they had the Otawara. Maybe if I just don't risk it there, I'm better off. So opponent can search for either Basic Forest or Harbingered Island. Pretty soon I'm going to run out of options, though. Okay, yeah, that 6/6 is the real problem. All right, they're starting to make attacks. If they waited one turn, they wouldn't even, I wouldn't even be able to start working through it with the Riddler. Counterspell, right on time, you dickbag. Okay, I think I'm dead. I can play Quantum Riddler. If it draws a land, then I have Sink into Stupor available. I'm not really beating a 6/6 trample. I'm not beating this board anyway, so I have to YOLO on the Quantum Riddler. Alright, draw a land? Shit. Alright, GG. Yeah, it was Urza Saga at the end of the day that I lost that game too, and yeah, that one turn where they happened to draw Otawara, and I happened to tap out, and they presented Saga ticking up to 2, Primetime in hand, and Aftermath Analyst in the graveyard, plus Active Shifting Woodland. I think if any one of those things weren't true, I could have snuck away with that one. But that was actually a really cool game to try to navigate. On to the final round.
The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables. In this YouTube series, hosts Patrick Sullivan and Patrick Chapin go set by set through Magic's past, leveraging their decades of experience as Pro Tour players and game designers to analyze the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a deep dive into the facts, mechanics, cycles, trivia, decks of the time, and historical context of the set. The hosts dig into notable cards of the era and their lasting impact today. Each set gets an award show where the hosts pick their favorite cards for categories such as Best, Worst, and Weirdest. And finally, give a letter grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/TheResleevables.
I'm on the play for the final round. I'm going to keep. And I think I'm actually going to Thoughtseize first. Because I'm not trying to curve into a 2-drop specifically, and there are decks in the format where, like, if they had the Pinnacle Emissary in their opener here, that would have been a huge deal to clip it with the Thoughtseize. Okay, so we've got Tormod's Crypt, Mox Opal, Claws of Gix, Kappa. I think it's just got to be Kappa, and then I try to work my way through the Urza Saga. Opal, Crypt, Claws, Saga. Those are all the cards we knew about. And Shadow Spear is one we didn't. Great. Okay, I found the land. That gives me a little less pressure here. If I preordain into Tameo, I would prefer to have mana. I could also just do a Riddler now. Okay, I think I'm actually just going to do Riddler because I found what I was looking for, and preordain is more mana efficient in the future. Right now, my best draws are just Fatal Push to get through this Urza Saga. A Bauble. Okay, I can Bowmaster them on that Bauble, but I don't think that's what's important right now. Thoughtseize, no thanks. Preordain, please find Fatal Push. Consign to Memory, that's a turn too late, you sucker. Alright, bottom. And the lesson we're learning here is that Urza Saga is quite good against control decks. Has anyone said that in the last 5 years? 3 years? However long this card's been legal? Has that insight been presented? Right, if they have a Lava Sword Boots or Skateboard, I'm in even more trouble. Okay, Welding Jar. That does check the box of the thing that I was worried about. Oh, they were not able to equip Shadow Spear this turn. That's lucky. All right, Bowmaster. Orcish Chump Master. Yeah, an Engineered Explosives or a Dress Down. Just something that has any chance to catch up to Urza Saga. This is my 3rd Urza Saga matchup in this league, and it's the 3rd time it's a problem. Can I afford to Thoughtseize here? Not really, but I kind of have to. All right, Thoughtseize you. 2 Quarry Steel Cutters. Well, glad that's gone. And my basic's already been fetched here. So I will Quantum Riddle. And then I'm going to scam that out, and I have to shock to do this. It stinks. Sign. Keep that. I'm actually just dead to this Quarry Steel Cutter in their hand. No, that's not true. They need a spell to go with it, because equipping the Shadow Spear and playing and equipping Quarry Steel are pretty comparable. Pinnacle Emissary. How about no? This gets my hand lower. Like, in addition to taking a little bit of damage off the board, this also gets my hand lower in a way that is useful with Quantum Riddler, although I think I'm just hard-locked by this Welding Jar. An 8/8 Trample. So I'm going to chump block the 7/7, go to 1, and I don't think there's any 2 draws in my deck that could stabilize me here. I guess Sink into Stupor. Sink into Stupor is one of them. There's Fatal Push. A little too late. Though, when a creature regenerates, it does leave combat. Alright, so I can Fatal Push the one that has Shadow Spear on it during attacks, and block the other one. If they have a spell here, I'm just dead. Or no, I could have forced that. Alright, that was sloppy. I was still very dead, but I could have actually hardcast Force Negation and still Fatal Pushed and been at 1. But there's no coming back from that. It's over. Okay, another day, another loss to Urza Saga. What do we do about that? It's weird because I don't actually want Fatal Push in this matchup, but it was my best draw that game for a long time. Though on the draw, Fatal Push is okay because you could catch Pinnacle Emissary with it. I think I want Meat Hook and Deluge. Meat Hook's a little awkward because it's not really going to kill Construct tokens, but it does give me a catch-up to the Emissary. I'm actually going to go down on Thoughtseizes quite a bit. Mystical Dispute. That does get Emissary, Emery, and Kappa. It's probably worth having. It's probably better than Force of Negation. I do like Consign well enough, but maybe one of them should be a Kaito. Okay, I'll try this. I'll keep, and I'm just going to turn 1 Preordain off of the Gloom Lake Verge. Maybe Counterspell could actually be lowered. The count could be lowered. Frog and Riddler. Riddler's a later problem. Frog I do love having early and often. Right, opponent has the Emissary. It is on a Molda 6. Right, do what you're going to do. Claws. Bobble. You do have 2 sweepers in the deck that are capable of catching up to this. Right, play Frog or hold up Counterspell. Play Frog. If they drop a Kappa right now, I'm not going to love that. Another Emissary. This could be Kappa. Yeah, disappointing. Yeah, this is the weakness of these ultra fair decks in Modern, because every deck can do something extremely messed up, which, if you're sitting here, it's like, holding up Counterspell, turn 2 on the play should be pretty good, but I'm already under the gun from multiple threats deployed on turn 1. There's no Shieldred's Edict or anything like that in this build. I'm going to Preordain. Bottom Marsh Flats. I will actually keep Bowmaster. And if I Counterspell Kappa, or not Kappa, Emissary, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can actually beat Kappa in combat. Alright, I'm going to just hold. Urza Saga, you love to see it. I'm going to Counterspell basically anything here because I have to. Alright. Fetch, Shock, Counterspell, and then discard my hand to beat Kappa if they attack with it, though I don't think they will. If the drones attack, I'll jump Frog to eat one of them. I have to start catching up to this somehow. Okay, just holding. Holding them all. Urza Saga activation. Kappa is when an artifact enters, so I can't stop that from happening. Does that mean I should attack? If I'm not going to be able to block, I should be attacking. And hell yeah, I'll discard my hand to kill this Kappa right now. I probably should have held this land back. If I was going to make this attack, I would rather keep a spell. Yeah, they're not going to block. They know that they're just going to win next turn, and there's no reason to make that poor for them. Mishra's Bauble. Okay. Kappa's online. Could have been anyway, but now it definitely is. That's a lot of creatures attacking. I think I will use Bowmaster to just take a little pressure off these drones. No blocks. End of turn, I'm going to gain 3 life eating their Emissary. It's just a race from here. Get a Surveil land. Sewer. Counterspell, not helping. Another sewer, also not really helping. Artifacts will enter the battlefield next turn, at least 2 of them. That makes Kappa 8/8. A frog is going to attack. Frog and Bowmaster, actually. Orc Army is my chump. Mystical Dispute, another belated answer to Kappa. Sewer, dump a Marsh Flats, and basically dead here, but I guess I'll see what they do. Construct, 7/7. Another Construct, pair of 8/8s. Got a Skateboard. Tapping my Orc Army. All right, I am dead to everything that's happening here. A positive record with this deck. 3-0 start, and then lost to Urza Saga twice. I think that, I mean, we can adjust the tools here. I didn't queue into energy at all, like Boros Energy, which is what all these sweepers are for. And the Kaitos did come in. I think you need an Engineered Explosives or a Dress Down, just something that can catch you up to a wide board of tokens. Like, take a look at the overall metagame before you make your decision, decide what thing is best. But Engineered Explosives can wipe out all the tokens, and it's also pretty good against energy. Like on 0, 1, and 2, it has application there for all of that. Dress Down can help versus like Gorios and stuff if their Atraxa is just a 7/7 that goes away at the end of the turn with no other abilities. That's something that could buy you a little time. Something like Pithing Needle, even Pithing Needle naming Urza Saga would have been a huge thing. Like maybe that overlaps with Belcher or other things out of Amulet or Goblin Bombardment, a Johnny. I would look for one more generic answer to stuff for the sideboard that hits Urza Saga. And then from there, you can make a decision about that. Also, the Quantum Riddlers, these were great throughout the league, don't get me wrong, but you usually want to see like 1 in a game, and usually when your hand is already a little bit low. I could see turning one of these Riddlers into the 3rd subtlety, because getting Frog going is so important, but like we saw in that last game, and the game before it actually, it was the Titan game and the Kappa game, where I developed Frog on 2, then just died to Primeval Titan in the previous round, and then Kappa Cannoneer this round. And being able to tap out for Frog more aggressively is facilitated by having more free permission. And I know there have been builds of this deck in the past that just are on like 4 subtlety, 3 force. I don't know that the metagame calls for that right now, but I think one of these Quantum Riddlers could afford to be a subtlety, and that would just help us move in that direction. It also helps those hands that just have 2 Riddlers in the opener, and it's not that sexy. Spending 2 mana to draw 1 card at random is not actually a good modern level play, unless we're consigning this in, or we're drawing 2 cards later. You know what I mean. That's my feedback. 1 extra subtlety over one of these Quantum Riddlers, and then the sideboard needs to answer Urza Saga somehow. Large John, thanks for sending this in. This was a lot of fun. All the matches were pretty good. Everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Patreon to support the channel. I'll see you next time.